Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of the Spin That Shutdown Showdown. Today I'm going to talk to you about needles and cartridges. So, you got the turntable all set up, you have it, and you want to see, get the best play out of it. So, needles is definitely the best place to start because this, as they say, the rubber meets the road. So, the way it breaks down, this is called the head shell. This is what holds what's the cartridge here, and that's your stylus. Some people call this the needle, but that's called the stylus. Cartridges, and that's your head shell. So these are what that tiny little tip there. It's made out of diamond, and this is what touches your record and makes the music. Inside the cartridge is a magnetic coil that vibrates, electronically vibrates, and that transitions through these wires, each signal, and out through there, makes contact in here, through your tone arm, and into your amplifier. That's kind of the way it goes through. It's kind of the way it's set up. So, the cartridge, okay, it's some different models here. As you can see, this is an Audio-Technica brand. This here, we have a Stanton. This actually, no, the Oyster. This is actually made in Japan. This is an Oyster brand. And this is the Stanton here. So over time, what happens, your needle's going to wear out. And you need to replace it. So the best way, a lot of people ask me, I need a needle, they'll just give me the type of turntable they have. And it doesn't matter what kind of turntable you have, it actually matters the cartridge is on your head shell. So you want to look on your cartridge, there should be a manufacturer's name and a model number. And that's what you want to look for when you're looking for your cartridges. You want to put that into your search engine. eBay is a good spot actually to get needles, because a lot of the big needle sellers like Needle Daddy, Needle whatever, they're all selling through eBay. So, and their website obviously. But yeah, this one's kind of easy to replace. Kind of just wiggle it out, and that goes right in there. And just slide it back in, and that's it. So if you want to replace your cartridge, you want to replace it for, if you want to upgrade it, this cartridges is kind of what gives you going to give you the best sound ultimately. Cartridge prices range wildly. I mean, there's cartridges as low as $20, like a universal one, all the way to several thousands of dollars. So Ortofon makes a series. They have like a red one, red, blue, and gold. That's the first three levels. It's $100, $300, and $500. So it's a lot of money, but the cartridge is going to give you an improved sound. It gives you the best sound possible off your record. So to replace the cartridge, there's little wires in the back here. So usually color code it, and you just unscrew these tiny little screws. Definitely recommend getting a little screwdriver set to get those out and put them back, and just carefully pull out the wires, the leads on this side. Don't need to put them on there unless you're changing the head shell. And slide them back in and screw it on, and then you have a new cartridge. So when should you change your needle? How do you know when your needle's worn out and what wears out the needles? So first thing is, when you notice there's usually a distortions in the high end of the music, whether it's the vocals or just the highs on the music. If you hear something like a distorted sound, that's a good indication that your needle's worn out. The needle, what happens, it tends to flatten, the point tends to flatten, and that will cause a distortion because it's not tracking properly. So you want to, if you hear something in the high end, usually an indication the needle is wearing out. How long does the needle last? The Stylus or Styli will last you an average of 800 to 1,000 hours of play. So, long time. Diamond tips are made to work. And what affects the longevity of the needle, the Styli, is going to be the record and how you're taking care of the needle. You want to make sure when you play your records, the records are clean. Like we talked earlier, previous episode, keeping your records clean. Before you play the record, you want to make sure you wipe off the dust, either with the microfiber cloth like this one. Well, they sell like little brushes that you can take and just pass it over and keep the dust off of it, keep the records clean. Because the needle, if there's dirty records or records that's not been cleaned, you're right, it's gonna wear out the needle quicker, and you're gonna get less time out of it. So it's kind of things to keep in mind. Usually 800 to 1,000 hours. If you play about 4 records a day over the year, once a year you want to replace your needle. The needle cost is going to be less than a whole cartridge, but do expect to pay anywhere between $15 to $50 or $60, maybe even more, depending on the cartridge you have. And also, you want to keep in mind when cleaning your records, make sure that you clean the record, but also make sure you clean the tips on your stylus. So these tips, they have a product, 2 different products you can get. There's a little jar, you pull it out, it has a brush tip on it, and just brush it a couple times, 2-3 times after you play each side of a record. Keeping the stylus tip will also extend the life of it. They also sell this little round, like Play-Doh goopy thing that, it's not goopy, it's like a Play-Doh kind of thing. You take it and keep it down, and you kind of just put the needle in and out 2-3 times and just keep the tip clean. And usually it's recommended to, after you play one side of a record, take the needle, clean it, and then flip the record over and play it again, and then do that by playing each side or playing a full record. So keeping the needle clean will also extend the life of your record, because clean needles, clean records, there's nothing grinding into the grooves, and that actually conserve the records, because vinyl records are expensive and you want to make them last a long time. So that's one of the things you want to do, is make sure keep the tips of your stylus clean, keep your records clean. That'll extend the life and enjoyment of the record. Now, some needles have special functions for different types of music you're playing. Like in this case, we have a cartridge set up. So this cartridge and this stylus, it's set up to play mono records. So a mono record is recorded different than a stereo record, and this actually set up here is made to pick up the differences in the grooves. So if you play a lot of mono records, I highly recommend this. I have read many times that you should always get a mono record or a mono needle when you're playing mono records. You can play it with a regular needle. That's not a problem. But if you specifically get one that tracks specifically mono and put it on there, you know, it's supposed to play better. And I actually was able to get a setup and I played it, and I'm a believer now because it actually does make a difference. As soon as you drop the needle, it's instantly louder, clearer. Does play the difference. Mono, if you're not aware, and stereo is 2 different. Mono is just one speaker, the sound comes out of one speaker, and the other speaker exactly the same. With stereo sound, you have panning between the left and right speakers, and they come out 2 different sounds, and it comes together, and you hear it in stereo. But mono is the exact same thing on both sides. Great for like jazz or early rock records. A lot of them are recording mono and stereo, so definitely recommend, if you can, get yourself a mono setup. And if you have a record player like this with the little caddy, it's great just to keep it on there and swap it out when you're playing your mono records. So they also have needles for people who are like DJs. They scratch back and forth. They have that kind of needles and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of a little introduction on there. If you have any questions, definitely comment me. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow.